Gonna start over. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show, where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope you'll find some entertainment value in what we're doing here. All of the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below, or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, facebook.com Studio, youtube.com Studio for those of you watching us on YouTube, and, youtube.com Studio if you're watching us live on Twitch, and Twitch TV Blue Tengu if you're watching us later on YouTube. If you missed any episodes, you can catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along even if you haven't seen them. For those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric, and I'm a game designer living over here in Japan. Just trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments, of which we've already had plenty, even just getting the show started. The reason I'm showing it all as opposed to making the game first and scripting out rehearsed tutorials is because I do want to lower that barrier, and I hope inspire you to stick with it or go out and try it yourself. If you see me kind of fumbling around, you won't feel so bad, I think, when you fumble around yourself, as we all do it. Thank you to everyone who dropped by last week, and to all of you who watched the video on YouTube. Also, thank you to the people who watched the music special that I put up not too long ago. That was definitely nerve-wracking to do that, because I have no musical background whatsoever, so probably half of what I'm saying is just wrong, but it is what I'm doing to make the music for the game, so I wanted to make sure that, in the spirit of showing everything that goes into making a game, show the musical side of that as well. The chat last week was fun, and I'm looking forward to another great show. For those of you who are with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions or ask me questions at any time. May not be able to answer them right away because I am working, and if the chat gets going, might not be able to keep up. Sometimes I get lost in it, but I'll try to get to them, and if I can't, please send me a private message here or leave comments on our site or YouTube video, or you can send an email to eric@bluetengu.com, and I'll try my best to address it next time. If any of you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd love to see it. You can also post links in the Twitch feed if you want to. And let other people see it too. Just a warning, if you do post a link in the Twitch feed, there's a chance I'll just go and see it. Take a diversion from this project and go and check it out. So if you don't want the world to see it, then maybe send it to me privately. But at this time every week for 2 hours, I come onto Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti for this season. It's a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with the pinball mechanic. And last week I added a level selection room where you could pick from different outhouses. Some of them were locked until you got the keys from bosses. And this week I want to go back to stat tracking. I've been tracking a bunch of stats for the player, but I've never actually shown them to the player, so I'm going to be doing that. It's not really a gameplay thing, so for some of you it might be a little bit of a slow episode, but I want to make sure that it gets in there. And Super Pro Programmer drops by. Thank you for dropping by this week. Glad to see you. You came by kind of at the end of last week, so you didn't get to see much of what was going on. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. Let's get started. Alright, so first thing is to go over to the task list over at Trello.com where I keep it. If you type in Trello and Project Spaghetti into Google, this should be the first page that comes up, unless there's now a Project Trello Spaghetti restaurant somewhere. And this week it's going to be Mean Stats, the episode. It's displaying stats to the player. Going to try and think of different ways to do that, because there's a lot of stats, and I don't want to just have something from the options menu where you go in and see all of the stats at once. Yeah, have that too, maybe, but I want to have something where it shows you more or less relevant stats in between stages, during that results screen that pops up. Just to let you know, the music special, I did mention on Twitter anyway that the music special is up, but for the game itself, I actually did do a music special. It's about an hour, so it's not as long as a normal episode, but I just did it YouTube only because I wanted to explain what was going into music and stuff without, trying to explain different things that I couldn't explain in chat, etc. But I didn't actually get all of these music things done, but I have them all started and kind of working as I'm going. But I just kind of use LMMS to make the music and just kind of go into how I do that. So if you're curious, it might be kind of interesting. And in between last week and this week, I did a couple of cleanup tasks, like for the level selection, made sure that the keys are being saved because they weren't. Also added locks, sound effects, and things like that for the outhouse when you try to get into an outhouse that you haven't unlocked yet. Prevented the player from walking over them. Made sure that they hold either a silver key or a gold key, depending on which one they picked up. The keys no longer rotate at some super fast speed. They actually go at a normal speed now. That was actually something I think Super Pro Programmer might have been able to see, because I think that was right at the end when the key was rotating really fast, so I fixed that. Did a whole bunch of stuff for the outhouse stuff, the level selection. Also fixed the bat pathing before they were getting stuck on the tombstones and all that, so I finally kind of got them to weave around them. Made the bell ring each time it kind of swings to the side, so it sounds more like a proper bell. Also detached the ghost anger from the bell ring state so that the bell can stop ringing, but the ghost can stay upset. Added the key jingle for the pickup key jingle and stuff like that. Also had the reload mechanic where the bullets are slowly going in. Animated that a little bit. Made some clicking sound effects, and also Pandabit's suggestion. Last week, one of our viewers, Pandabits, who always stops by, made the suggestion that for the ghost boss, the thing is you have to get all 4 bells ringing for the ghost boss to be able to be something that you can hit, but there's no way to convey that to the player, so took his suggestion, and at the beginning of that stage kind of created an earthquake effect so that the screen shakes and all 4 bells ring when the boss ghost appears. So you can actually see that, okay, if all 4 bells are ringing, the boss is in the angry state, so that's what I have to do. Also did it for the other bosses too, because it makes sense. They're giants, so might as well have an earthquake effect for when they show up, but I'll show that in game. Also added just a quick mountain background to the level select screen. And also for the screen shake, I was noticing that because I had the tiles right to the edge of the screen, when the screen shook, there was these little black lines everywhere, so I just added an extra layer of tiles around to make sure that those didn't show up. Also did an experiment with moving the room to 0, 0, because, well, this is going to be easier to explain in GameMaker itself, but I have all the rooms shifted so that enemies can come from the left side, but it kind of makes it where I have to recalculate the coordinates every time. Wanted to make it simple, but you can't have the enemies like pathing around in negative coordinates, I guess, so that didn't work out. Also, if the player tries to shoot with an empty gun, have the thing spin and make a sound effect for that, like a bike chain sound effect, so that there's a little extra like reinforcement that no, you don't have any bullets. And in combination with that, another PandaBit suggestion was the no bullet stage option for challenge rooms, where you don't have any bullets and you still have to clear the challenge room. Made that possible. So that's all the tests for last week, but let's get into it. First thing is going to be displaying stats. In fact, I want to these are kind of tied together, but I think the first thing I want to try to do is in those in between result screen things, I want like different stats to kind of scroll at the bottom, and it's going to be a couple of things that go into that, but let's give it a shot. Let me show you where I'm at with GameMaker itself here. GameMaker is what I use to make the game. As some of you have dropped by know, do like it for 2D games because it's just the right amount of complexity for that. Nothing more, nothing less. You can make 2D games, obviously, in Unity and Unreal, like Unreal's Paper 2D and stuff like that, but I just think they're kind of overkill if you're going to do a project on your own. It just depends on what you want, I guess. Since I am going for like the retro look, I do like the Commodore 64. It's my favorite machine of all time, thanks to my brother, and that's kind of why the visual style of the game is the way it is. And for that, GameMaker is perfect. Okay, it looks like I'm okay. There we go. Now I can show you the game. Awkward debugging moment ended. And it's serious. Hope everything's going okay for you.
Ready, set,
and I hope you made some progress with your design. So the first stage is a town setting. You're basically fighting enemy cowboys, which look much like you in Commodore 64 retro style. And you've also got a brief tutorial here. Once you finish it, you get everything you need. The bullets bounce around, and as they bounce around, they pick up speed. The disadvantage to a faster bullet is that it's harder for you to keep track of, harder for you to dodge. The advantage of it is if I can get it to actually kill an enemy. The advantage of it is when it does hit an enemy, it's worth more points. Oops, I got it to hit me. Get some points back. Okay, well I killed them all with regular bullets, but if you do get them bouncing really fast and they hit an enemy, it's worth like a multiplier. So the kind of advantage if you're going for points is to try and get these things bouncing as much as possible. Makes it more work for you, but that's why you get rewarded for it. You can also duck the bullets to speed them up. So that's another risk-reward thing. If you want to take your chances on ducking, then you can do that to speed them up too. And it's not just the town level, there's also a graveyard level. This is kind of that bell ringing thing that I was talking about. These are just normal ghosts, so you just have to ring one bell. If you ring it, you can shoot them. If you're not ringing it, bullets just go through them. And let me show the boss ghost. This is based on PandaBit's suggestion. So when the boss shows up now, there's an earthquake that rings all the bells so that you know, okay, the ghost is angry. And it calms down again, so now, of course, it goes through it. With this boss, you have to hit all 4 bells. This is easier to do without the mouse. There we go. Got it upset, shot it once, and you just have to keep repeating that pattern. And that's for the ghost. There's also the desert stage. With this one, again, the enemies aren't as simple as the cowboys. If you try to shoot the scorpions from the front, they'll just block the bullet, get upset, and charge you. So what you have to do is kind of get them frozen. Let's see if I can get this guy frozen. There's a good spot for it. Get them frozen, shoot them from behind. The thing that can help you with it on this stage is that these cacti also shoot out spines every time they're hit. So you can kind of pin these things in place if you do it right. That's how you do the scorpion. Obviously, there's a scorpion boss as well. Next stage is the alien, and also the Anderson project is animating right now. Awesome. Are you animating for a game, or are you just animating for practice or in general, or just doing like an animated short? Be kind of curious. Animation is one of those things I'm not not qualified to do at all. I've had to do it for like a Unity game once, and it's not for me. I'm not good at it at all. With the aliens, what you have to do is you have to get their shields down to be able to shoot them. The only way you can get their shields down is to have them either hit each other with lasers or have their lasers reflect off of these crystals. And that's the alien level. The last one's the snowman level. With the snowmen, if you shoot their head off, they start wandering around instead of looking for you, which is an advantage, so you want to go for their heads whenever possible. You have to shoot all 3 snowballs to kill them, but if you don't shoot the head... Whoops. Shoot myself. If you don't shoot the head, they just get faster, but they still have their head so they can see you and track you. This is another stage where you can use the Christmas trees to kind of shoot them for you, as long as you're good enough to dodge them. And then there's a lot of challenge stages like this, which are just crazy challenge stages. Let's die in spectacular fashion. You have to survive that. The thing I want to do today is, if I can get to the end of it, I'm using a special debug trigger to just blow enemies up, by the way. This is not part of the game. I guess I could leave it in there, but it wouldn't make a very fun game if people just did this. Yeah, this is the first level, so enemies come out nice and slow. Probably one more, I think. One more enemy that'll creep out here. Ordinarily, you can't just blow them up, so there's not as much of a pause in between them. Okay. So what I want to do is there's this blank space here that I could show stats, or I could shrink this window up a little bit and have stats kind of scroll across down here, and I think that's what I want to do. Not entirely sure which one I want to do yet, but because it'd be kind of nice to have this different stats scrolling across the bottom because it's a little more dynamic. Won't conflict with the top part, so that's the way I'm thinking of going. What I need to do also is create a debug trigger that'll just end the level, because otherwise it's going to take forever to debug this thing. And I have 2 of these open for some reason, so let's get one of them away. Because otherwise I'm going to have to kill all the enemies in the stage to get to that result screen every time I want to check how I'm doing. So that's the first order of business, is to add a debug switch to just end the level. Let's see. I wonder, because I've got a level jump. That works. Is that going to be enough? Let me just check that level jump really quick. I thought I had a level jump. System, this F1. 4. Skip to the next level. Okay, F4 might actually do it for me. It'd be nice if I had the foresight to actually make that thing the way it'll work. Okay, F4 works. Good. I don't need to actually make a debug switch. So right now F4 just basically kills all of the enemies in the level and allows it to move on. So as long as I hit F4, I should be good. Okay, so now it's actually making that stuff at the bottom. If I do everything properly, what I should do is have, whoop, let's not do that, let's do this. Have like some blackish region down at the bottom or something, and just have, you know, like something like snowman heads blown up 32 or something like that, and just have this, you know, scrolling across the level like this, and just have relevant stats kind of scrolling across the bottom. If I can pull it off, that would be awesome. So the place I'm going to need to do that, let's see, I think it's menu. Script menu results, I think, is where I'm actually drawing all of the text for everything. So yeah, total score, things like that are all in here. So I would have to do the drawing in here. And just to show you guys what kind of stats I've got going, I'll show the variables too, but there's also a debug switch that'll just kind of dump it all out. So if I hit F12, I think, that should be it. Yeah, it dumps out all the stats I've got here. Obviously, it's a programmer-friendly format, so it's kind of all over the place. But for example, like distance traveled, bullets fired, things like that. The most number of bullets I've ever fired is 28 in one game. Things like that are things I want to show the player. And I probably want to show current things as opposed to records, because records are something that should probably go into a menu, like the most number of things you've done. What you're curious about is probably how you're doing in this game. And all of those variables are tracked here, kind of at the bottom. Yeah, so like for example, the number of lasers you've dodged, the record. Lifetime isn't actually implemented, but yeah, the number of dodges, things like that should go at the bottom. It'd be nice to see how many you've got in this game versus how many you have record-wise, but conveying that to the player is going to be kind of tricky. Could theoretically, I suppose, bring up paintbrush again, sorry. Could theoretically do something like this. Yeah, that's like you've dodged 2 this game, but the most you've ever dodged in a single game is 32. Record. I don't know. Record 32. Like, I don't know. You guys let me know. Does something like this make sense? Like, if you saw this, would you know what this means? Like, you've dodged 2 in this game and 32 as a record. Maybe something like this. Record 32. Yeah, well, let's try it. Let's try it out. Can always get rid of it later. It's easy to get rid of stuff. Deleting things is easy. So, let's just start with something easy. And I think in the end what I'm going to want to do is have relevant stats being the ones that are being scrolled. But for now I'm just going to scroll all of the stats. Or just pick one to scroll just for a test. That seems like the easy way it goes. And Sear said, got back to me on the record thing. It looks good. Okay, we'll try it. Let's see what it looks like. So let's go back into menu results. And at the bottom is where I want to do this. Paste score value. Alright, let's try it. Let's try it. First thing is just going to be to get it to display at the bottom, I think. I don't think I need an item for this, do I? Yeah, let me see. These items might have tick up things and stuff like that I have to worry about. Might have to create a new object for it. Menus. Item. Step. Okay, I might be okay to use these things. Let's try it. So, stats. Item 1. I'll assume in the future it's going to be an array, because there's going to be multiple of these things scrolling across the bottom. Let's see, score offset, text offset. So this is the X and Y coordinate of it. So let's put it at the bottom of the screen, just for now. So let's just say room width, or view. So this is how wide the screen is. So view, W view, current view, global current view. Oh no, current view I think is working fine. No. Alright, global view. Let me just double check to make sure that is actually a variable. Current view in here. No, it is not. Alright. View current? Maybe that's it. There we go. Okay. It's a GameMaker thing. Okay, so that's x, and then I want to divide it by 2 so it's in the middle. View H view, so this is the horizontal size. Let's say minus 50, just to bring it up from the bottom of the screen a bit. And obj menu title should be okay. And then I just have to set all of this stuff. Let's see, and the last thing, that the actual text for this thing is going to be stat item 1 title text. So this is the actual text that's going to go into that thing that's scrolling at the bottom. So for now, yeah, short score. I don't need to short score it, I just need text. So let's see, global, and I need to put a stat in there. If you've seen the show, you know that I always do things the quick and dirty way the first time around and then start to brush it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is do this manually. So literally just typing up the text I need, which is obviously very quick and dirty. Global stat enemy bullets record. Okay, and there we go. So this will just display this one stat at the bottom of the screen if things go right, if things move as they should be. And I'm going to need to jump to a stage where this makes sense. And what was it? F4 to end the stage, so this will bring up the result screen. Okay. Well, that's way off to the left in the wrong place, so that's one problem. Do you need to change the font on that? Is there a smaller font I can use? Right now this is size 12. Tutorial is size 8. Maybe tutorial font will work. So font tutorial needs to be smaller because that's way too big. Font tutorial. And let's see, maybe I don't need to do this align thing either. Let's try this. Let's see what this looks like. I think the problem with putting it in the center is that all of the text is going to go off, but I think that's because I had that right align thing. Let's see how it goes. Thankfully I have that debug switch, so debugging's quick. Alright, stats. Okay, the font looks horrible, but yeah, it shows up. So enemy bullets. The enemies have fired 2 bullets and they fired a record of 4 bullets, so there we go. That's that. It is working, it looks horrible. I'll have to think about that, because one of the problems with the font that I'm using right now is because everything gets scaled up, it looks pretty bad when it gets scaled up, so it may be something where I'm going to have to just dig into the UI stuff and kind of fix it all. So I'm going to have to just tolerate that it looks ugly for now, as long as it starts working. I think that's where I'm going to draw the line for today. Just get it working. So the next thing is to actually have it scrolling properly. So let's get back into results, and let's see if we can start getting it scrolling. Let's see, how can I go about doing this? Results. So whatever calls this, I think, is going to have to be the thing that keeps track of this. So menu results, wherever this is being called. Somewhere. That's great. That's the problem with using the search. It doesn't search everything. Yeah, so this is why in GameMaker sometimes you want to just use script for everything, because then you can search for everything. The problem is if you use this stuff, it doesn't search it very well. But I'm going to assume that results are being displayed from the results manager, because it's been named that way. So let's see what it looks like. Stat tracker, that's something else. Draw result screen elements. That's for the background stuff. So while I'm at this, I probably do want to change this a bit. Stretched. That's for the background. This is for the frame. Because right now that black frame that's back there is really, really big. So it would be nice to shrink that down a bit. Well, let's leave it alone for now. Just remember that it's there, I think is the important thing. Brightness filter, post draw. How odd that I'm not doing that stuff in here. You would think that the results manager would be where I would handle results. You would think wrong. Resize screen, that's one thing. Increment the scores. Okay, so this is where all the score incrementing is done. So this is actually where I need to move the text to the left. It would have to be in there. How can I go about this? So what I should do, what should I do? Because there's a couple of ways of going about this. Because I want multiple things scrolling across the bottom of that screen. So you've got the results up here. Just pretend those are results. And I kind of want the results to be scrolling across here. Probably should do this in Photoshop because then I could actually move them and show you what I'm talking about. So you've got bullets fired there, you've got maybe enemies killed. Yeah, let's not do that. Enemies killed here. Somehow you've managed to kill 20 enemies without firing a bullet. Dodge, bullets dodged. 10. And, you know, theoretically, I want this to be able to kind of scroll back and, you know, scroll left. When something scrolls off, it just disappears. Could make this just one gigantic string and then just scroll that. That would be the easiest way to do it. The results screen isn't that long, so maybe that would work. I wonder if there's a maximum string size in GameMaker. String size GameMaker. There we go. GameMaker max string size. Perfect. Let's see what this looks like. That's in show message though, so that's a little different. Okay, well, this person seems to think that there's no limit except for memory. 512 megabyte. Wow, a 512 megabyte string. If it's possible to have a 512 megabyte string, then I'm sure I'm okay with just doing one. It would certainly make it a lot easier, because then I could just have a separate thing that just makes that string, and then all this has to do is scroll it. Start here on the right side of the screen and just move it off to the left. That would be awesome. I'm going to assume that that person is speaking the truth and give it a shot. So let's see, create. So let's see, be a step. That might be what I need to work with. Be a step. As long as I'm not moving it back down, I should be okay. Be a step is equal to 1. Oh no, okay, I'm moving be a step back down to 1 every time, so I need a different one for scrolling it. So let's do that. Just add a variable in here. Stat tracker. Move this up somewhere. So, stat scroller. Current stat scroll. And if I want to display the string starting off the screen and moving left, I need to have it start past the view. So that would be start with view, X view, view current. And let's give it a buffer of like 20 or something. See how that works. Hopefully no one resizes the window in the middle of this. See, I'm sure it'll work fine. So current stat scroll, so it starts off to the right, and then so I should keep subtracting it as I go. And hope that there's no limit to where that string is just suddenly going to disappear. So every step, I don't need to worry about end results being true. This is just if the player decides to skip the stage. So I don't have to consider that. I just have to increment this by, -1 every time so that it goes left. Because GameMaker coordinates go from 0 to the size of your room, so I want it to go towards 0. So that's that. And let's see, this is in the menu results. So instead of using this for the x coordinate, I want to use this. And let's just see if that works first. I guess if it works, it won't show up. It's kind of a hard way to test it. If it works, it won't show up. Alright, let's go for the coast stage. There we go. Results Manager. What doesn't it know? Current stat scroll. It doesn't know what to do with that. That's probably because I'm defining that variable too late. So let's move it up. Let's move it up to the top. Yeah, because there's screen menu results. That's where it's being called. So I need to do this before that. And just so I remember what this is like 10 months later, let's put a comment in there. The current X position of the scrolling stats. Okay, now it should work. Alright. Okay. Fired. So it moved it all the way to the left. Why did it do that? I need to add a debug thing to show me where that is. So let's add that. So show debug message. This is how I can show like what's going on. So let's see, show debug message. Because I'm going to need this in the future anyway. So it's room, result manager, scroll X. Hopefully I'll know what that means. And string current stat scroll. String current stat scroll. Okay, and I should change this menu align to left so that it's trying to show it starting from the left instead of right aligned. Because, you know, if you've worked with any Microsoft Office product or Photoshop, you know what this means. But left align means it's going to start here and draw to the right as the string gets longer. Right align means it's going to start here and draw more as it gets longer. Center means it's going to start here and kind of expand out as the string gets bigger and bigger. So I want left align because I'm deciding where the string is going to start drawing to the right. So that needs to be FA left if it isn't already. That might have been one of the problems. So right now it's drawing on the left side of the screen, which is not good. Still doing that. Let's see what the debug message told me. Room manager, result manager, scroll X44. 44. What an odd number. That's a very odd number. Current stat scroll plus. Oh, there we go. Found the problem. I'm using X view, which is where the screen starts. I should be using X view plus W view, which is how wide it is. View current plus 20. So that I can start from here, go all the way to here, and then plus 20 on that, so it shows up on the right side of the screen. There we go. Glad that was easy to fix. Glad I noticed that rather than spending an hour trying to figure out what's going on. I guess I've got some sensitivity to the X view, W view thing because I've had problems with that in the past. Okay, there we go. So it's starting on the right. The only problem is it fills in the string going left, which it should not be doing. That might be a problem with the item itself. Let's see, what would be causing that? Draw the text. F left, yeah, that's fine. Draw text color, X, Y, menu text. Yeah, that's kind of strange because what should theoretically happen is just pretend that this is the edge of the screen here. And right now I should be drawing the text here. Like, say this is that +20. Or whatever the text was. It should be starting here and drawing to the right, but instead it's doing this. It's centering the text, which it should not be doing, but it is doing it. Menu font, menu active, draw set align left. Draw edge align, draw that. Yeah, maybe this is fishy. Menu fonts, menu active. Let me just look that up just to make sure that I am understanding this the way it's supposed to be. You would assume that left align would mean that it's aligned to the left, but who knows? So looking that up. Yep. Align left. Yeah, see, it should be showing up like this, because if that's my X and Y, it should be filling in the text like that. Oh, it's because I'm using title, isn't it? Is title different? Draw? No? Menu align. Well, I guess I could use F10 to kind of show the UI element and see where the box is. That might help me debug this. Everything seems to check out. Let's give it a shot. Let's just see what it looks like with the debug thing on, because the debug thing should just draw like a square around where that item is. If it works out. I haven't used the F10 thing in a while, so we'll see. Okay. Oops, I didn't do it in time. Let me do F10 now. So I've turned UI debugging on. Now let's see what happens. Yeah. As far as I can see, it's off to the right, but for some reason the text is being center aligned. It's being centered for some reason. Is that a property of the font itself, maybe? That's possible. No, shouldn't be a property of the font itself, because there's nothing in here that says center. Very weird. Alright, well, let's get it scrolling and just see what happens with that. Very odd. Menu results. But instance create. Maybe that's... no, that shouldn't be a problem. Instance create. Tutorial. So one other thing is that I'm starting the item off on the right, which may not be a great idea. Let me change this up a little bit. What I'm going to need to do is maybe update this item that's actually just drawing the text to do the scrolling, because the actual UI element should be at the bottom in the middle of the screen. I shouldn't be moving that around. because that's going to be kind of tricky to pull off. So let's do this. Let's set this to the left. View X view current. Set it to the left. Menu title. Let's change this to right align. So that all the text is going to be pushed as far to the right as possible. I think that's how that works. Let me just check. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay, I want to do left. Do you want to do left? Then add a bunch of spaces. Let me just make sure that there's string functions in GameMaker that'll do what I need them to do. Cut. Trim. This is someone's private script or whatever, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. Okay, well there is a string delete. Let me work with that. Might be able to work with that. String delete. Let me just check out what this thing does. Because what I could do is just keep cutting the spaces in front of the string and kind of move it left. That would certainly be easy. First and the number. Oh wow, this'll do the trick. All right. So I can just keep cutting the first letter of the string and kind of move it left that way. So let's keep this at left. Title text. So let's just add a bunch of spaces in here, just as an experiment. And let's see. What I should do is add a new variable inside of the item. Menu. What do I want to do? Menu scroll equals true. So if menu scroll is equal to true, that means keep cutting the title text every frame. So before I forget to do it, let's get rid of all of this stuff that I just added. If I can find it. There we go, get rid of that. Make sure I get rid of it from here. And menu title. And let's just say that variable is normally set to false because I don't want things scrolling. But if it's set to true, then every step I want to trim that string. Not time this string, trim the string. Trim the string. And that's where I'm going to use string delete. And the string I'm going to be deleting is title text. And I think it starts at 0. Let me just double check. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it starts at 1. Because if index 5 is getting rid of the O in hello, it starts at 1. So let's 1, and then 1 character. So every frame it's going to delete a character, which is really, really fast. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is menu scroll index. Let's start this at 0. Increment this every frame. Menu scroll index. And then if menu scroll index mod, can I use mod? Yes, okay. Modular division gives you the remainder, so it's useful for checking things every like 5 steps or 10 steps or whatever. So if I want to delete a character every half a second, I would have to do room speed divided by 2. If that is, well, wait a minute. If that is great, mod room speed room speed divided by 2. So let's see, every 30 is equal to 0. Okay, so if there's no remainder, and I need to round this, I think. Well, maybe not. We'll see what happens. So every time it hits room speed divided by 2, which is 30 frames in my case, so 60 frames per second divided down to 30, it'll delete the first character. If things work out, we'll find out. Only one way to see if this logic is working. Yeah, that's one problem with UI stuff. It seems simple at first glance, but then it's just tricky to get things working. I'm still using this somewhere. Okay, results manager. I need to stop incrementing that. So get rid of that. Okay. I was still using that variable I deleted, so just needed to fix that. By the way, GameMaker is on sale right now. I guess if you're interested in GameMaker or any of the modules, it is on sale. Probably up to today, maybe tomorrow. It's on sale. So if you're interested in getting the professional edition or some of the modules, it's a good time to pick them up. Okay, it's not moving. It's not moving. Why is it not moving? Is it because this thing is frozen, maybe? Option menu title. That could be it. What could be happening is because the results manager is pausing the game, it could be pausing those title things too, which is fine in most cases, unless I want it to actually be doing something every step. So what I probably want to do is activate these things. So object menu title. Let's do that. Let's see if that works. One more problem. Actually, that's probably not the problem. There's one more thing that's going on here. Object menu item, not item, title. Scroll index to 1. Yeah, I need to increment this. What am I doing? Menu scroll index plus 1. There we go. That's what happens when I jump back and forth between GameMaker's visual stuff and the script. I forget to do things the right way. So now it should actually increment it. Whether that actually helps or not, we'll see. That still just draws it there, doesn't it? Huh. Alright, what's it doing? What is it doing? Draw text. Oh, because I'm not changing this stuff. No, that should be fine because I'm changing title text, the string itself. Trim the string. Should be doing that. Oh, alright, here we go. String delete returns a string that has its first character deleted. I didn't actually change the string based on that, is the problem. I hope. I hope that's the problem. That'd be nice. Live debugging. Okay, well, it's working. It's working. Yeah, as you can see, it's deleting one character every half second. When it's not supposed to be, and the reason for that is I'm not actually checking for true here. So I need to check for that. So menu scroll. I have to make sure that menu scroll is true before I do any of this stuff. If menu scroll is true, then do that. It's working though. Good to see it right on the title screen. It's working. It is a little slow, so let's speed that up. Because I would hate for text to be scrolling at that speed. It should be like a pretty good clip going across the bottom. There we go. Okay, now we're in business. Obviously, it's if the high score screen, I don't have any scores to kind of keep that time going for it to scroll very far. But it is scrolling. I could make it scroll even faster. I think people can keep up with that. Good to have things working. Let's see. Let's divide this even further by 12. So that'd be once every 5 frames it moves. Could probably even go faster. Let's see. Let's just do room speed divided by 30. What the heck? Every 2 frames it's moving. And we can check the speed. So if that works, the next thing will be to populate that string with the stuff I need. Awesome! Alright, now we're getting places. Let's see, next thing's going to be to populate that string with other stuff. Well, I'll still do things the quick and dirty way, because that's just the way to do it. Let's see. Stats, menu, results. Here we go. Obviously need a lot more spaces than that. As ugly as this looks, let's just do that. And I've got to think of a better way to populate this string, because right now it's just literally this, and just literally writing all that. Actually, I need to put these parentheses outside. That's one problem. Even had a few more. So I'm going to need to think of an efficient way to do that. It could be a case where instead of using an array, I use a DS list. What a DS list is you can add and remove elements from an array in GameMaker kind of on the fly. It's a special data structure for that. Okay, it comes from the right, disappears off to the left. That part's working just fine. Phew. Okay. One more thing I do want to do is draw a little bit of a black box down there so it's easier to see that stuff. So let's get that done, and then I'm going to take a quick break and come back. Draw result screen elements. Draw set. Alpha. Actually, I don't need to do that. Draw. Oh no, I do need to do that. Okay. So I want to add a little black frame for that stuff that's scrolling at the bottom. Add the stat scroll frame. But actually, before I do that, I want to make sure that the position's right before I go through all the trouble of drawing that thing. So if it's too far off the bottom, I'm going to need to adjust that. I wasn't paying attention to that because I was debugging other stuff. Let's see what it looks like. I want to make sure I'm happy with the position before I start drawing stuff around it. Okay. You know what? I could just keep it inside of that frame. Because it's there. It is there. So... No, I think it's better to have it at the bottom of the screen. Let me just get rid of these array things. I don't need them. It is better to have it at the bottom of the screen. So let's just do -10. Let's keep it at the very bottom and just see what that looks like. All these kind of UI decisions to be made. UI is one of those tricky things to get right. It takes a little time to get just what you want. Okay, that's scrolling in the right place. So let's put something there so that people can actually read it. Results manager, -10 is where I want that stuff. So draw a rectangle down there. Rectangle color. Use the British spelling just to make sure that it works right. In this case, I just wanted to go from all the way from the left side to the right side of the screen. So view, X view, view current, plus view, not make the same mistake twice. View current, and I have to remember that Y comes next for some reason. So view H view current. fact, just in case, Y view, make sure that I'm at the bottom of the screen, and then subtract 10 from that. Actually, subtract 15 from it, so that there's a little bit of a buffer. Y is fine. And I can just copy and paste this to get the bottom of the screen. And for color, let's stick with white for now, because I think white works best with that color for making it show up. And let's put it in here. And let's see what this looks like. If this succeeds, I can go on break. Drink my water to get my voice back to where it's supposed to be. There we go. So as you can see, there's a little white border down there. Text is scrolling across it. So now the big issue is going to be putting the right text in there. That's gonna be interesting. So before we get into that, I am going to take a quick break. For those of you who follow the show, you know exactly what comes up during the break, and that's a very, very weird animated short. If you're watching this on YouTube later, it's the thing that comes at the beginning of the video that many of you might skip. Before the break, I got to the point where I had the text for the statistics scrolling at the bottom. So that's a good start. Now comes the hard part. Whoops, wrong thing. Magic, I vanished. Yes, the power of open broadcast software. Okay, so what I need to do is get that string so that I have stats in it without having to manually type all that stuff in. The reason I don't want to manually type it all in is because certain stages are going to want to display certain stats more than others. Like, for example, it doesn't make much sense to show the player how many ghosts they've shot through on the snowman stage, because it's not a number that's going to go up on that stage. It would be more relevant to show how many snowman heads have been blown off, for example. So each stage is going to have to be able to pick the stats to show, in addition to maybe even going a step further and ordering those on priority based on which ones have changed. Like, for example, if the player did go through the snowman stage without shooting a head off, then it's probably not a high priority stat to be showing the player because it hadn't changed. Whereas if they blew up snowmen with like the exploding bullet or something, then maybe that should come in front. That's going to be a lot of tricky logic. I don't think I'm going to be able to get all of that done today. What I could probably get done today is maybe a per room kind of priority thing. So to do that, I think what I need to do is create a variable somewhere, or at least an array or a DS list or something somewhere where I can add in the stats that need to be displayed. The one problem with that is going to be, let's jump out of fonts, these stats down here. The problem with these stats as they are now is there's nothing to kind of show what these things are. Like, for example, I could add this number somewhere, but I would have no way of knowing which text goes with this, for example. So what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do, let's see, what am I going to have to do here? What's the most efficient way to do this? I hate thinking about things efficiently from the beginning, but this is one case where it might be worth doing. Because you can imagine, like, if I want to add this stat and this stat to the string, but not those two in the middle, I'm going to need some way to know what text goes with this, as well as the number. And, like, the easy way, I think, to be efficient in this case would be to have something like this. Global stat 0. Let's see, global stat 0 dot. Wow, okay. It's not a very efficient way to do this, but you know, have like global, well, let's just say 0, for example, and then say global stat name 0 is equal to bullets fired or something like that. Because then these indexes would be the same, so I just have to keep track of which index I want to display. Like if I had something that's storing what stats I want to display, stack or something like that. And you could imagine, while thinking about it in C or something, have like something like that, where I say I want to display this one first, this one second, this one third, this one fourth, and it'll know from the 0 to come down here and grab this and display that and sandwich it all in the string and do all that stuff. That seems like the best way to do this. The only problem with that is throughout the game it's using these stats, which would mean a big overhaul of the system. Yeah. I guess I could kind of create a middle ground by doing this without having to just overhaul everything. It's pretty inefficient to do it that way because this and this are the exact same thing. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, all right, you probably want to have like constants in here so that I know what this means and I'm using it everywhere. So everywhere I'm using this, I'd instead want to use this. That's something for the future. I'll have to think about that. I don't want to just overhaul it right now, so I think I will just do something like this. So let's see, global, should I use an array or should I use a DS list? Because what I can do right now is just pump all of the stats that I want in here. So for example, if these are the stats I want to show, I could do this on a per level basis or something. That would be the easy way to do it. It's kind of a lazy way to do it. It's probably not great because it's not very expandable. But it would get me what I need to do. So let's see, bullets name. Yeah. Okay, let's do it the inefficient way first, because I think that's pretty much all I would be able to get done today anyway, so let's do it that way. Settings. Let's create a new script first. And what this script is going to do is populate the array, the stat array, based on stat names and whatnot. Well, let's just say that. So what I would do is I'd probably pass it. What would I pass it? See, there's the thing again. I can't pass it a variable name because that's not tracked anywhere. Yeah, this is not good. It's one of those things where I feel bad doing it because I know I'm going to have to change it all later. But all right, since I know I'm going to have to change it all later, let's not be halfway efficient. Let's just go all the way with being inefficient. So here we go. Let's go the hard way. Yeah, because this is something I would have to update later anyway. Wow, this is bad. Kind of painted myself into a hole here with the way I'm implementing it. Global. Yeah, how can I go about this? Wow, this is one of those things where I've really painted myself into a hole. Maybe I should just redo the whole thing. So what I could do is keep the old ones for now. I could just use a multi-dimensional array. Yeah, alright, let's use a multi-dimensional array because it could give me some more options in the future. So all of these numbers are going to be 0, obviously, since I'm not updating the proper ones. Stat 0, 0. Is it not going to let me get away with that? I know I've done multi-dimensional arrays before, so what is it that I have to do for them? I have to use a comma. Okay, got it. There we go. Okay. In fact, let's make text first. And let's make number second, record third, and lifetime fourth. Okay. We'll see if this works out. And I'll just do a couple, because for all I know, this could not be the way to do it. Kind of trudging into unknown territory here. And let's see, I wonder, can I use, if I'm going to overhaul things anyway, let me just check something. DS list. This GameMaker does come with these things called DS lists, which mean you don't have to have indexes and whatnot. DS map actually would be a two-dimensional one. So this would be the equivalent of a two-dimensional array in GameMaker. So what it does is it gives you an index, it gives you the first value, and then it gives you the second value. DS map add. And as long as I can get that index somewhere, find value, ID key. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's go whole haul. Let's make a DS map. I do have to be careful in a couple of these things. One thing I have to be careful about is destroying it when I'm done, but worry about that later. Let me just make a note to myself to destroy the DS map. Okay, just so I remember to do it at some point. It's probably not important because it's going to stay there for the whole game and only be created once. So it should be okay. So DS map create. Let's call it stat map. I want to check to make sure it doesn't exist before creating it again, because otherwise I'll really screw my memory up. Exists. Not the DS map. Hey, I want to know if the DS map exists itself, so maybe I just have to say is not null. If there's gotta be a way to determine if the DS map itself exists, because let's see, it's not equal to new one. If global stat map is not equal to new one. I don't know, if this doesn't exist yet, is it going to give me an error? We'll find out. In fact, I should only have to do this once, but let's... Alright, so global stat map, ds map, add. So add to the stat map, key. It gives me a key and a value. Yeah, alright. I'm going with it. I'm going with an array. It's what I know. Because this will do exactly what I need it to do. Bullet bounces. I can worry about the DS map later if it's something that I'm interested in. So bullets passing through ghosts. So that's a really long description, but there we go. Bounced off scorpions. Off of scorpions, but keep it short. Bounced off aliens. Lasers dodged. At least that one's nice and short. Oh, it's pretty trivial to add all of these, so let's just do them all. Bullets dodged. Yeah, the only reason I was thinking about a DS map was because it would be easier to add new stats or move them around and do whatever I wanted with them, but because the problem with an array is it is numbered, so it's not very flexible. It's not like a stack or a queue or anything like that where you can just add to it and take from it. It's just always there and always in that order. So shields dropped. 11, 11, 11, 11. Explosions. Explosions dodged. Snowman headshots. Enemies killed. Important stat. That's going to change pretty much every stage. Boss is killed. See, like this is a stat, for example, I would only want to show on a boss stage, because otherwise it makes no sense. If there's a stage without a boss, why am I showing this stat, for example? So I've got a total of 16 stats here, which isn't too bad. So what I could do is I don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Okay. Global stat array. And let's just say this is 16 elements wide. Actually, I think I can add to arrays on the fly. But I want to initialize this the easy way. So 4 equals 0, I plus, whoops, I is less than 16, I plus plus. In fact, let me also get the size of the array on the fly so that if I do add stats later, I don't have to keep changing these numbers. And I can do that with this. So actually this needs to come after. So let's move this down to the bottom. So stat count is equal to the size of stat minus 1. Hopefully that's okay. I'm getting the one-dimensional length, so hopefully it's not going to return 4, which it might. Let me actually let me make sure it doesn't. I want to make sure I'm getting the right number from this. I guess I could just use debug code. 1D GameMaker. Because there's height and there's length. For 2D arrays, you should be using this. I want to make sure I'm getting the right one. The second dimension. So probably height 2D. Alright, so let's do that. Height 2D, so that should return 16. And I'm subtracting 1 from it. In fact, let's not subtract 1. Let's just do that. Okay. And I'm using less than anyway, so I don't need to do the minus thing. So it should go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up all the way to 15. And each time it should do this. Initialize it. Okay. So actually, let's initialize it to that. So by default, it's going to show these statistics in this order. So when it populates that string, it's going to go enemy bullets fired, it's going to next do player bullets fired, it's going to do distance traveled, it's going to do bullet bounces, all the way down to the end here, which is bosses killed. It's just going to display that as one big string and move across. Let's make sure that works first. So let's make the string and have it scroll, and then start worrying about like changing the order based on the stage. Obviously all the numbers are going to be 0 because I'm not actually using these numbers, I'm using these numbers. So I'll have to find a fix for that later. But for now, let's just get it working. So I'm going to need to remember this stuff. So let me just copy and paste it so I remember it. And so let's see, where am I actually making the string? I'm making it in results here. So title text is here. So let's create a new function that actually populates that string. Can I actually return it? Okay, so first thing is going to be to have a string. Var stat string, let's call it stat string. Started out at, this huge thing here. And just keep adding to it, appending to it. So, oh, whoops. Did one thing wrong here. Just noticed it now. Need to change one thing down here. I need to make this global.stat count. Okay. And I don't need to get this again, because I already have it stored somewhere. So go through it and use the index inside of here as an index. This is going to look weird. Global stat, use that, comma 0. So that's going to give me bosses killed, for example, if this happens to be 16. Actually, since it is 16, do one thing here. Let's go from 1. Let's go from 1 to that. Okay. Do that here too. Okay. Alright, so stat string is equal to stat string plus this. The first one is a string. Let's make it simple. String stat string plus bosses killed plus. Alright. So I've got the little colon after it, so it'll say bosses killed, colon, space, and then I need to actually have the number in here. Stat. So that'll give me the number. Then I want the record thing. Okay. Little by little, constructing the string. The record's going to be stored in the second one, and I just need to close out the parentheses and add a space. Okay. So that should go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, adding all of the numbers and strings in there. And the last thing I need to do is return that. So return stat string so that it can be used. And instead of this, I'll just comment it out for now. And I need to rename this script so it actually makes sense. So call that stat string. Okay, so now title text should include this super long string with all of those stats. That was a lot of changes. If this works, I'll be amazed. If it doesn't work, then we'll just get it working. All right. What kind of errors are going to pop up for me? There we go. Execution error. Global stats. Okay. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Whew. At least this is an easy error to fix. For some reason I was going to do it, but I forgot to do it. I need to convert these to strings because they're numbers. The second one and the third one. That'll fix that. Okay. Because you have to explicitly change numbers to strings for GameMaker, otherwise it doesn't know what to do with them. Start to piddle around in like Visual Basic, which does everything for you, and it kind of throws me off when it comes to GameMaker language because they're both very similar but different. Same, but different. Okay. Next thing is out of range. 17. Okay, I'm getting to 17, which is not good. Why would I be getting to 17? Okay. That means this is returning 17 probably. Okay, because it's including 0. Okay, so I do need to subtract this by 1. Okay. That's probably why I was subtracting 1 for all the sound table stuff too, because it includes 0 and all of that in there, so it counts 0 even if it's not populated. So I never actually populated 0, but it still counts it. Which gives me 17 elements. There we go! There we go. Shoot. Now the window just appears just off screen, so I need to show that to you again. There we go. So it scrolls by really fast. Obviously it doesn't last very long because there's no points counting down or anything, so let's get a stage going. Let's blow things up. It'll give me a lot of points, which means the result screen should actually stick around for a few seconds. In fact, I'll get a lot of points because explosions are worth a lot. It's worth 20 times the base points. And I'm collecting all of the coins too, so... total score is weird. I need to fix that. So there we go. Snowman headshots, enemies killed. So I got all the way down to enemies killed with that. Which means what? Which means even in the best case, how many stats can I display? Enemies killed. Dodges. Almost to the end. Even with that, with the ridiculous amount of points, which means that the result screen is going to go for quite some time. The most I could ever expect to show the player is 15 statistics. So that's a good benchmark. Now it's just a matter of prioritizing those statistics based on this stage, which means every room I should, where is it? Change stat count around. Stat array, I guess. Stat array around. So to prioritize these things by stage, so for example, in the snowman stage, I would want to have 14 coming first, for example, and I can do that. Let's see, is there anything else I have to do before I do that? Should be okay. Oh yeah, I do have to fix that total thing. What did I screw up with total? It was working fine before. Did I accidentally mess something up here? Menu align FA right. Total score FA right. Menu right, title, yeah, that's all fine. Short score is fine. Must have screwed it up somehow. How did I screw it up? Launch menu title. Trim the string. If it's true, draw the text. X and Y. I didn't change this stuff in the end. Menu align. Menu align, that's fine. Did I change anything in here? Interesting. Wonder what I did. Wonder what I did there. Interesting. I must have changed something somewhere because obviously it's showing that total score way off to the right, which it should not be. Could be that I'm not changing something back. So as you can see, score's kind of off there. The alignment's off on it. Results. What could I be doing differently? Menu align is being set right. Oh, there we go. I copied and pasted. Well, that's why the alignment wasn't working. So that's interesting to know. Okay, that'll fix that. That explains why that, when I was having that trouble getting it to shift, it's like it wasn't shifting for me no matter what I was doing. That's why, because I had copied and pasted that in. So that should fix the total score. Yeah, it's in the right place. Text is scrolling super fast. Okay, everything's good. Probably should scroll that result stuff a little slower. Too fast. So let's see, draw step. Oh, it's not here, it's in here. Step. Okay, let's divide that a little lower. Let's go 15. So now I should only be able to display about 7 stats at the most, probably 4 in most cases. Alright, now let's actually pick the stats. I'm displaying per level. So I'm gonna need to modify this stuff. And I should keep this open so that I have something to modify, something to work with. And in each stage, just define it. Pick the stats to display. Typing off screen, sorry. Pick the stats to display for town. In town's case, I should probably do stat array. So the first thing I want to display is what? This one. Bullets fired seems like a pretty good one. Enemies killed seems like it would be a good one to show. Dodges, enemy dodges, bullets dodged. That's a good one to start with. Let's do 8. 8. Let's add a bunch of constants for these, so that when I use them elsewhere, I know exactly what they mean, instead of using this 0 stuff. And I'll just use the same names I'm using for the variables now to make it really easy for me to replace this stuff later. Stat 0. Okay. So whenever I see this, I know it means 0. Bullets fired. Stat, bullets fired. That's 1. Distance traveled. That's just travel distance. Sorry, travel distance, that's 2. Stat bullet bounces, that's 3. This 4 is bullets bouncing through ghosts, that's stat ghost bullets. This is at least one way where I can get around the problem of the array always being the same, because I can change these numbers around if I needed to. Scorpion bullets. Bullets is 5. Alien bullets is 6. Laser dodges. Stat laser dodges is 7. Stat bullet dodges is 8. Stat enemy dodges is 9. Stat charged shots fired by the player is 10. Stat shield drops is 11. Stat explosions is 12. Stat Bruckheimer is 12. Explosion dodges. Stat explosion dodges is 13. I feel like I'm going to mistype one of these so bad. Stat snowman heads is 14. Almost there. Enemy kills and boss kills. 15. Stat boss kills. 16. Okay. So now I can use all of these instead of numbers, which mean nothing when I'm looking through the script. So let's copy them over. Let's use them. I need to OK this first so that they actually show up. This is a way I can make sure I'm not mistyping things. Is if it turns up red, it should be just fine. There we go. Okay. That means I didn't mistype it. So replace all these zeros with this because it just means 0 anyway. So when the program's compiled, it'll replace all these with 2's behind the scenes anyway. So it's no big like memory difference, memory or processing difference. It means the exact same thing. That's the beauty of constants. Ghost bullets. Scorpion bullets. Alien bullets. What I can do later is create a script to update statistics, and that way if I do need to change the system out later, I can just update one place instead of every place where statistics pop up in the game. So that's going to be a pain in the butt. It's already going to be a bit of a pain to replace these kind of hard-coded variable names with this new stats array, but gotta do it to get things working the way I expect. Enemy dodges, charged shots fired. Oh, my eyes are actually starting to water from my dry voice. Let's do that properly. Water my voice so I don't die on you guys. It's also extremely hot lately, so that's not helping. Japan is starting to enter summer. When we hit July, it'll be very interesting because I'll have the air conditioner going, which will destroy my voice even more. Because when I first started the show last July 4th, that was an issue. having the air conditioner blowing on me and destroying my voice. Winter I have no problem enduring, so I didn't have to have the heater going too much. Okay, so that's that. Got all that in there. So now these numbers I can just do this. And Cirrus, yes, yay summer. Cirrus, I'm not exactly sure which part of the States you're in. I'm not sure if your summers are really, really hot or not. I originally come from California, Sacramento. Summers there, at least there's not much humidity, but the heat is ridiculous. Obviously, Sacramento in that area used to be a desert because it's in the valley, and it gets extremely hot. It gets up to, well, Fahrenheit, it gets up to, like, I'm not sure if it crosses like 110 very often, but it gets close to 110 during the summers. In Celsius, who knows? I'm still not used to Celsius. Sorry, rest of the world and Japan where I live. But it's around like 42, 43, maybe higher, 44, 45, somewhere around there. It gets really hot. The problem with Japan is it's got humidity, so although Japan only goes up, depending on where you live in Japan, at least in the Tokyo area, it goes up to about 42, 43 sometimes. But the humidity is ridiculous, so it makes it pretty oppressive in the summer. Let's see, what else can I do? Oh, there we go. I got my handy list. Another advantage to using constants here. Explosions. There we go. So to get back into what I was doing, what I'm doing right now is displaying all the stats at the bottom of the screen and just picking which stats to display in which order. Let's do explosions dodged. And to be honest, anything past this, explosion dodged. There we go. Anything past this is probably not going to get displayed, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. Let's just make sure this works. So if this works, the stats should display in the following order. It should show enemy dodges, bullet bounces, enemy bullets fired, charged shots fired, explosions, and explosions dodged. And only for town level 1. And I'm going to need to do that for all of the other stages. For town level 1, 2, 3, I'll shift them around a little bit, but for the most part, should be the same kind of stats that I'm showing. Since it shows up at the bottom, I have to make sure that this is visible. Yes, okay. So here we go. There we go. So, F4 to end the stage and show stats. Bullets dodged. Obviously not a lot of points, so there's not a lot of things to show at the bottom there. So what I need to do is kill a bunch of stuff, get some points, so that it sticks around for a bit. Let's blow some guys up and see those stats to make sure they're showing up. There we go. Bullets dodged by enemies. Bullets dodged by you. Bullet bounces. Enemy bullets fired. Charge shots fired. And I think that's the order I put it in. Yes! Okay, it's working. It's working as planned. So now all I have to do is do this for every level. Do this for every level. That shouldn't be hard. All I have to do is just copy and paste the whole thing over and then just shift the order around in the way that makes sense. Like for example, for Town 2, I probably don't want to do the same order because otherwise you're always seeing the same statistics, and that's not very fun. The other thing I could do is when these statistics are updated, put them higher priority. And then kind of shift the other ones down. That's going to require a little bit of array manipulation. So what I can do for that is, what I should do is make a function for updating stats. What that function can do for me is update the stat, update the record, update the lifetime stat, update the order in which it can be displayed, and do all this stuff for me. So if I do it there, if I do decide to change the system later, I can just fix one place, because right now it's all over the place. For example, player. Let's see, every step, for example. If I can find it. Yeah, distance tracking, for example, every step. I add the distance you've traveled in pixels divided by 10 to this travel distance stat directly. So instead of this, what I should be doing is calling a function to update the travel stat distance. And if I do that everywhere, it should make that fine. So we're in a good place. So I do have scroll stage stats at the bottom of the results. That is working. So display stats is working. So what I'll do is I'll change this to menu display stats. Let's make this a different task. and move that off to the side there. So scrolling stats per level is working, but what this would be is if the player wanted to see all of their stats at once, they should be able to go to a menu and just say, all right, scroll through all of my stats. I want to see how many snowmen heads have blown up over the lifetime of this game. So giving the player that option will be a different thing. Other things I need to do. Go through the levels. Stats. Pick stats to show by level. That's one thing I have to do. All I did was for the town, so I need to do it for the other ones. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it shouldn't take too long. And also, this is going to be a bit big, so stats, update stats through a function. Instead of doing it directly with variables, update stats with a function. Yes, Jackal Gamer, for example, this would be very easy to do if everything was in script. Unfortunately, because I am using the GUI stuff, I'm going to have to hunt for where I'm changing these things. Shot myself in the foot on that one. So update stats through a function. That way, I can also bump things up that have changed in the display thing at the bottom. What else do I need to do? Is that about it? I've got things scrolling okay. The font looks really bad, so that's something I'm going to have to think about, but that's just a UI task in general. That's going to be quite large UI. Fix the font display. Because right now all I'm doing is draw, which means that the font is default 320 by 200 resolution, and then it's blown up, which is why it looks bad. Yeah, that's system game design in general, so that's going to be something. Yeah, and Jackal Gamer, yes. Yeah, I recognize your name. I knew you've been here before. Giving tips on GMS. So yes, thank you. Thank you for those tips before, by the way. Yeah, they were obviously helpful because your name stuck out in my mind. Alright. So mean stats, that's today. We got it done. We got the stats scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So let's think about next week. Episode 49. Almost got to a year here of doing this. By the way, Jackal Gamer, I should mention as well, if you're working on something yourself, and GMI as well, if you're still here, if you're working on stuff yourself, feel free to post links to the Twitch feed. I definitely check that stuff out. Or you can send me an email or follow at Tengu, and I'll follow back and check out what you're doing. So I'd like to see what you guys are working on. Obviously, Jackal Gamer, you know what you're doing with GameMaker, so it'd be interesting to see the projects you're working on and kind of keep track of that. Episode 49. Let's think about what we can do. I think you guys are going to be tired of stat tracking after today's episode. So let's see. Enemy danger, colorblind mode. That's something different. Draw move out of scripts. Balance sound levels. You know what? Let's do some of the boss stuff, because right now the boss stuff is in the reach task, because I wasn't sure I'd be able to get the boss stuff done in a year. But I've got all the bosses in there. It's just a matter of actually getting them working. So let's move these out of reach tasks. Don't double click. Don't double click. And let's work on the alien boss next level. Some of these other bosses are going to be pretty trivial. The Christmas boss might be a little tricky, but there we go. Let's move those out of reach tasks because I'm going to be able to do them. And actually, secret level background, that's going to have to move out too. Let's move that out of reach tasks because there is a secret level in there, so I just have to add the access points. And there we go. So next week, let's work on the alien boss. The thing with the alien boss is right now it just works like other aliens. It just fires out one laser, hits a crystal, its shield drops. It's not very impressive for a boss, so what I want it to be able to do is fire out multiple lasers that kind of sweep after each other, and when one hits a crystal, it stays there, the others catch up, and then as they kind of stack, then the boss's shield drops. And let's see, Jackal Gamer, yes, currently working on a platform game, but it's basically an engine, almost done with player core mechanics, so not much to show. Next task is power-ups. Good luck with that. That's very cool that you're actually starting from the engine too. So I'm not sure, are you just building it from scratch in like C, C++, or are you actually working in GameMaker, for example, and extending it? Just kind of curious. Or are you just working in GameMaker itself and just scripting? Kind of curious. So just finished coding the health bar. Well, when you do have something to show, definitely let me know. I'd be happy to check it out. So that's this episode. We got this stat scrolling, and next week we're going to try to get that alien boss actually feeling like a boss. So that's going to wrap it up there. And Jekyll Gamer mentioned making it from scratch in GMS. So, okay, it'd be awesome to follow you. If I'm not following you already on Twitter, definitely let me know. Send me a message or something so I can follow you. It'd be cool. So let's jump off desktop and give you the times and stuff, since some of you guys didn't see the intro. So there we go. Thank you for watching our game development show this week. Obviously, showing statistics to the player is not a very exciting part of game development, so thank you for sticking with me through what's probably one of the more grindy episodes. But you can catch past episodes and this one over at www.youtube.com/Tengu Studio. I will be editing a lot of stuff out of this episode to try and keep it as short as possible. All of my tangents. If you want to catch my tangents, you have to come by the live show. So if you're watching this later on YouTube, come drop by the live show we do every week on Twitch TV Blue Tengu. The times are, if I get them all correct, Fridays 4 to 6 Pacific, 5 to 7 Mountain, 6 to 8 Central, 7 to 9 Eastern for those of you in the Americas. If you're in Hawaii and Alaska, figure it out. Sorry. If you're in the UK, it starts from midnight, so that Friday to Saturday midnight, that edge right there, goes from there to 2 a.m. If you're in Japan with me, it's easy to tell you the time because it's my time, 8 to 10 a.m. And if you're in Australia, it starts anywhere from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Saturday morning, depending on where you live in Australia. And if you're in New Zealand, I think it's 11 a.m. New Zealand. But the safest way to go is to just check your time zone versus 8 to 10 a.m. Saturday morning Japan and then figure it out from there. But we do always announce what we're doing through Twitter. So follow btengu, B, the letter B, and then TENGU to keep track of when the live show starts or episodes go up. Or follow us on Twitch or YouTube. I definitely appreciate it when you follow. It makes my day. It's nice to know there are people out there that are kind of getting something out of this. And of course, you can see what we're up to any time over at www.bluetengu.com. By the way, if you do follow on Twitter, because if your name in Twitch is different from your name on Twitter, I may not notice. So send me a message. Just say this is, for example, this is Jackal Gamer from Twitch, and then I'll be able to link the two together. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.